The government of Venezuela expressed its repudiation of the most recent attempts of blackmail and interference in its internal affairs by the government of the United States. In a communique issued, the Venezuelan Foreign Ministry states, Venezuela absolutely and unequivocally rejects the neocolonialist interventionisms that Washington is trying to impose against an independent country that fully exercises its national sovereignty, and that has the right to choose its own destiny without the constant pressure and aggression of a government complicit in the massacre and genocide in Gaza, with a bloody history of human rights violations in our America and with a record of repression of its own indigenous, Afro-descendant and migrant population. The document states, the government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela calls for the union and mobilization of all the Venezuelan people in defense of national sovereignty and international solidarity to repudiate this interference in support of sectors of the oligarchy, the big names linked to past calls for the imposition of illegal sanctions that affected the national, regional and global economy. The document concludes by stating the following. Venezuela will not yield to any blackmail. Its institutions will continue to comply with the laws and the national constitution according to the mandate received by the Venezuelan people. Likewise, it will take all necessary measures to continue the course of economic growth and social development that it has undertaken with its own effort in the midst of economic hostilities applied against its citizens. Venezuela's response comes following the United States government's resumption of sanctions against Caracas after the South American nation's top court upheld the disqualification of opposition leader Maria Corina Machado. The U.S. Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Controls, OFAC, announced that it was resuming its sanctions against the Venezuelan gold sector and was prohibiting the operations of the General Mining Company. On the other hand, the United States government warned that the concessions given to Venezuelan oil will be revoked if the Bolivarian nation does not lift the political ban against Machado. The President of the National Assembly of Venezuela, Jorge Rodriguez, rejected the interference of the United States government in the internal affairs of the country. During the extraordinary session of the Venezuelan parliament, Rodriguez denounced Washington's declarations and the operations of its unauthorized embassy operating from Colombia. The high official reiterated that no state can get involved in the internal affairs of another country. Likewise, the President of the National Assembly ratified that the decision of the Political Administrative Chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice must be respected by the Venezuelan extreme right wing, as well as the agreements signed in Barbados with a sector of the opposition.
Porque la decisión soberana
because the sovereign decision taken by the Political Administrative Chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice to activate a mechanism designed within the framework of the Barbados Agreement, which was drafted by the opposition delegation of the Unitary Platform,
elaborado en el marco del Acuerdo de Barbados, que fue redactado por la delegación opositora de la Plataforma Unitaria,
and which expressly states that the decision of that political administrative chamber must be respected whatever it may be. Because if the only acceptable decision were the one the oligarchy and the extreme right wanted,
porque si la única decisión aceptable era la que querían los apellidos y las oligarquías y la extrema derecha,
then what do we need a court for? The courts exist since they were invented to settle an issue, either one or the other option.
O una u otra opción. Esa decisión,
that decision, taken last Friday, will still remain the same on April the 17th, April the 18th, April the 19th, the day of our Declaration of Independence.
La misma, el 17 de abril, el 18 de abril, el 19 de abril,
and then every day of 2024 and 2025, and so on until the end of history. Because it is res judicata. The court has already ruled, and there is no threat of anybody changing that ruling. Save yourself the effort.
Secuestradores que cambien esa decisión. Ahórrense el lapso.